just do like an action.
Action. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, all about your audience, the who, where, and how of automotive marketing. Today, we'll go over effective automotive advertising, how to reach your audience with the right messaging, and reviewing those results. First, we have introductions. This webinar is brought to you by Giselle. Giselle has been building industry-leading dealership websites since 2003, leading the game with insight, innovation, and operational excellence. Giselle's vision is to make online customer experiences excellent for customers and easy for clients. I'm Brittany Ramos, and today I am joined by Destiny Z. Thank you for joining me, Destiny.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so we'll get right into it. Effective messaging to your customers. So, starting off with what we've seen working. Updating your customers as things change. People in general like being informed and they appreciate it. So not only when you're thinking about, updating your hours or your services, but on your website, but also just making sure that everything is updated across platforms. And so all of those platforms are in sync.
Oh yeah, I really feel this one. I feel like right now you don't know what stores are open, where you can go, the hours are changed. So I'll look on like Yelp and it'll have hours, but then it'll say like, this may not be accurate. And then so I'll look online, I'll do and I Google my business listing will show up and it's different. And I go to the site and it's different. And I'm just like, I would rather go to a store that I know for sure is open. It's such a headache. So having it all in sync it's definitely crucial.
Yeah, and you feel like comfortable and trust almost when you do go to those different sites and it all matches. You're like, okay, this is good. And then also just delivery and virtual showrooms. So just basically anything that's like convenience, right? So delivery options getting a lot of attention, and then the video showrooms are on the rise. So not only offering these things, but promoting them can encourage customer confidence. And search interest is fluctuating. People, though, are looking for the right thing and close to home. So when we say it's fluctuating, we've noticed that like basically across the board, we saw a huge, a slight decrease toward the end of March, and then a tank in the beginning of April. And we've seen things start to come up and trend upward since then, which we hope continues. But while people are home and not necessarily coming into the dealership, those people that are searching and that are interested, they're really interested in kind of those convenience offerings that people have. So at-home test drives, review videos, digital showrooms, online configurators, all of these are, definitely leading to the convenience of users being able to do things from home. And this has definitely seen an increase in the recent times. So this shouldn't be surprising, this first sentence, that according to Google, 92% of auto purchasers already do research online. But what's interesting is that 18% of auto shoppers would buy a vehicle sooner if there was an online purchase option. So we only anticipate that this percentage will grow in the coming months and years, of course. Something to consider. And then time-sensitive searches. So of those searches that are occurring, we've seen a huge uptick since the beginning of this whole pandemic, I guess, that has changed our world in those time-sensitive searches. Now, while they say around 20% of searches have never been seen before by Google, so they're brand new. This one's not necessarily brand new like that, but you can see that it had a few spikes here and there before. We're looking at basically year over year, so a full year. But you can see that huge uptick in, is it a good time to buy a car, when the pandemic started to kind of change our world. But not only is this is one example of a search term. In our previous webinar, we actually touched on this a bit, but just time-sensitive terms in general have increased. So search queries with the word now in them. So like car deals now, or is now a good time to buy a car, and just people really looking for offers and, you know, current, like what's going on right now, knowing that things are continually changing.
Yeah, I think that you shared a pretty cool tidbit with me before about how like up to 20% of daily searches are brand new searches. I can only imagine that like that number is just skyrocketed with the, you know, the whole new way that people are shopping and buying
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And even like those that aren't new, like for example, the one that we just had on this previous slide, it's not necessarily new, but like you said, it's seen a huge uptick. So whether it be brand spanking new or something that just didn't get a lot of activity before, you know, the search trends are changing, and it's something that, you know, at 10th degree we're keeping an eye on. So
Making a comeback. It's
yeah.
retro.
And so, you know, cars are useful right now. Does that mean that they weren't useful before? No. But 93% of people say that they are now using personal vehicles more. I would assume that this sample size is probably in more metropolitan areas, so places like New York City, where, you know, there's a lot of public transportation usage. It's also typically and generally it's easier to just jump on public transportation in places like that, right? Well, with the current times, people are saying that they're using their personal vehicle when they're able to,
Yeah.
and so versus the public transportation.
And then like Lyft and Uber, like I know that like I would take it pretty frequently just because it's convenient and sometimes you don't want to drive. But now I'm like, is that person sick? Is their car sanitized? So, you know, definitely a service that I've been using, not at all really since before.
Since you have nowhere to go right now, but yeah.
Also that, yeah, that does have a pretty significant factor.
All right. Right.
All right. So then also reaching your audience the right ways. In response to the pandemic, you know, OEMs have aligned themselves with the community by giving back. We have some pretty cool examples, like Ford's Built to Lend a Hand campaign or Honda's The Power of Something Greater. These brands are, you know, they're building trust and loyalty, which, you know, they're not sales heavy messaging, but these do lead to sales once people are ready to buy. Obviously, the goal is to sell cars, but responsible messaging goes a long way. And then, you know, dealers, I'm sure, are not able to produce ventilators, right? So that doesn't mean it's not beneficial to still let your customers know that you hear for them, you hear them, you're doing what you can to make their lives easier and safer. And this is a great example. One of our clients, they have this at-home sales experience, pickup and delivery. You know, it's just clear. You're able to, you know, you come to the site and you're like, hey, you know, okay, they've changed things and they're willing to work with me. So it's a lot of making sure you're conveying that message, especially if you're offering those services and people don't know about it. So then updating these offers on your site is one part of it. You want to share information for people who come looking. Is your advertising matching? Consistency across the board is key, especially because with, you know, banners, you're reaching new customers, you're reaching, you know, audience segments, people who maybe are shopping for a car who don't know about your brand. So you want to share all of that good stuff with them. Advertising, you know, that's empathetic, well targeted, genuinely helpful can really resonate, you know, with buyers. Especially given the increased noise on the internet right now, your ads just need to be smart, targeted, and quality to stand out and capture, you know, people's eyes.
Yeah.
Across the board, yeah, we just need to be hyper aware of messaging. Acknowledge that, you know, there's a need for new practices and safeties. You got to make sure the consumer feels comfort and confidence in doing business with you. And then also a safe, like our yeah, it's part of what we like to, you know, do over here. And then as states start rolling back restrictions, it's still important to keep that community-centric messaging in mind. Maybe, you know, you're not advertising at home as much, but you still offer it and you're still having that sensitive messaging as people get back on their feet and, you know, giving them those appealing offers.
Yeah, you make a good point because places are starting to open up more. But we kind of touched on this in the last webinar that we did that was kind of focused entirely around COVID-19. But people are going to get used to these options available to them, the at home and the delivery and whatnot. So even as places open up, definitely people are going to want to start returning back to normal, but there will be a new normal. And part of the new normal is the ability to do these things from home. So you make a really good point there.
A lot of, like, not a lot, but a few of our dealers have talked about how they're really still trying to push this, even though, you know, they're in some states where things are almost, back to normal or
Yeah.
whatnot. So they've just had a good response. Some people don't want to come to the dealership and spend hours there. They know what car they want to buy. They're not trying to, shop around, and you just make it easy, bring the car to them, done.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being at home, let's talk CTV.
All right. What is CTV? Well, CTV, also known as connected TV, it is, internet streaming, basically the same thing as linear, traditional cable TV. There's so many names, but with so much more control. So some examples of connected TV are smart TVs, Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, Roku. I know that I have smart TVs, and then I also do use the Amazon Fire Stick. So like I said, it's the benefits of TV, but with more control. Like with traditional cable TV, you're watching all of your favorite content, streaming your favorite shows, and then you have those ads layered in between. But just like you have the power to choose what you're watching, on the side of the advertisers, you get to choose who you're showing your ads to. So you can advertise on connected TV just like you do with cable, but you get the data and insights of both. And some of those things inclusive of that are data-driven targeting. So you can, reach those first and third party data segments, in-market shoppers likely to buy, credit-worthy, or retargeting, people who've been to your site. You could do cross-device, show them an ad on the phone or the TV if they were on the computer. And then unified measurements. So you still have those traditional metrics like the gross point ratings, but then you have the digital metrics. You're able to see impressions, clicks, leads. How long did they watch the video? Did they watch it all the way through? Mm-hmm. And then my favorite part about connected TV is the precise frequency control. So you're able to control the ad experience. I feel like when I watched cable TV, I had like the same ad showed to me on every single channel like 20 times a day. And like initially I was like, this commercial is funny. But now I'm like, I'm so tired of seeing this. It's worn out. I don't want to see it. I don't want anything to do with it. So I like that with connected TV. You can put in those frequency caps. You can say, hey, I want to show this ad 3 times a day, no more, across all of these publishers, and you're minimizing the ad fatigue. So, your ad is not being like shown as much, but it's way more impactful. And then it's better spend. So, you're able to allocate money to all of these users who are seeing relevant ads. Like I'll see, I don't know, like arthritis medicine commercials, and I'm just like, almost, but not quite. So, it's just having that maximize ad spend, minimize ad fatigue, and accessing that premium inventory. You can see there's DirecTV, CBS, all of the same, channels that you work with are also online publishers. So connected TV is just cost effective, and, they deliver really performant campaigns. I know that I don't subscribe to cable.
Getting to that.
Yeah. Yeah, so exactly. I don't subscribe to cable. I never have. I do, however, feel like I have every streaming service under the sun, and I like it so much better that way. What about you?
Same, but I have. So I have in the past, but I haven't subscribed to cable in probably, I don't know, 10 years, maybe close to that, something like that. Yeah, it's been a while. So, and I'm with you. I love the control that I have. We were talking about control with ad spend, but I feel like it's the same on the user end, like the control you have with the streaming. So
yeah, it's not like, oh, I'll just watch what's on TV. I'm like watching what I want to watch, when I want to, and where I want to. I love that I can like watch on my tablet or the TV or my phone, and like it remembers where you left off too. It's just so seamless.
Yeah.
So, especially with the newer generation, connected TV is where you're going to reach those shoppers. As you can see from this infographic, 75% of people aged 18 to 34 either don't subscribe, are planning on cutting the cord. Yeah, and they used to have them. So, and then also over 60% of people aged 34 to 54 don't subscribe, soon will not subscribe. And then over 50% of people aged 55 and plus also are not cable users. So across the board, but also especially the youths have moved to new TV models. You really want to get, the attention of that age group. They're proportionally high spenders, and they're building what might become lifelong brand relationships. So the slide where looks at who still subscribes to cable TV. So you have that older demographic, but also live sports fans. 60% of those with cable TV are planning to keep it because of live sports. Unfortunately, at the moment, there are no live sports. So, with live sports suspended, viewers have shifted their focus to other forms of TV content. Another thing to note, though, is that once these live sports do come back, there are so many alternative streaming options which people are moving to. So, you have all the benefits of seeing live sports, but then you have that control. Like I said, you can watch it on any device, but you can also pause, rewind, look at different camera angles. You can rewatch it, watch whenever, wherever. And then you can watch like recaps and interviews. So it's all the content that you would have to normally like sit and watch on TV, layered in between the parts that you don't care about, easily accessed across all your devices. And people are willing to pay, even more for these benefits because they would rather, pay to see more of the stuff they want than get a package with like hundreds of channels that they never even take advantage of. So connected TV is the future. The future is now. We've been moving that direction anyways, but the current environment has definitely accelerated that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then connected TV ads don't have to be expensive. So if you're already doing traditional TV or video, you just take those same videos and you put them into connected TV. On top of that, OEM tools make it easy. They have video content in there already. You just layer in your logo, your offers, you can customize it. Or if you want to go further with customizing it, you can do your own stock footage, drone footage, and create a video at your own low cost. You can partner with an agency. There's so many options. The thing to keep in mind is that you want that higher quality video. We have like 70-inch TVs, 4K HD. So your ads are not going to serve on those screens unless your video matches that quality. So making sure you have that high quality video is going to give you more available placements and access to those premium publishers.
Yeah, good to know. The higher the quality, the more available to you in summary,
yeah.
right?
So like you'd probably be able to like show it on, people who are showing ads on their phones or whatnot. But, I know that like when I come home, I like to watch it on the TV. So if your video resolution isn't compatible with that, then you're missing out on that.
Okay. Perfect. So that leads us to measuring advertising efficacy. So we put together a couple of scenarios, starting off with all of my benchmarks are off. So Google recommends finding the core benchmarks. Now's the time to think back to which channels have historically performed well for you. How are they performing under normal circumstances, and what are they doing now? And just kind of understanding what those core benchmarks historically have been and evaluating what they are today. And so committing to historically what has worked well for you is definitely a good place to start. And that doesn't mean to not try new things like connected TV, but just really focusing on historically what has worked well in a time where you're kind of unsure of like what's going on and all your benchmarks are off. And then the next scenario we put together was kind of, we don't know what's going to work and we don't really have the money to just waste right now, right? And that, sits probably with a lot of people. So test your creative. This is the time to get really efficient and take your time. Don't rush out there with the wrong messaging. We've talked a lot about messaging, and this is the time right now to A/B test until you find what works and then run with it. But that doesn't mean to stop testing. You want to test against what works. You want to always be testing, and you're always looking for ways to improve by doing that. And that's just really making sure that you're focusing on your efficiency, and it will cut down on waste. So looking at advertising as COVID-19 continues. So we've done a webinar on COVID-19 and we've discussed it throughout this one, but it's unavoidable at this point. Your business as COVID continues, considering this is almost like a summary of a lot of the stuff we talked about, but just kind of putting it all together. Consider the tone of your messaging. Destiny touched on that earlier. People are ready. They're looking for offers. They're open to your advertising. and the offers that you have, but you just want to consider the tone of your messaging. This is always important, but now more than ever. And then making those necessary updates to your business model: virtual showroom, video conferencing, delivery, whether it be for the vehicle or parts and service, or well, you can't deliver service, I guess, but delivering, but you could pick up for service, right? And then drop it back off. So at-home test drives, all of these updates to your business model, if you haven't made them and you are able to, we would recommend doing so. And then of course, advertising them. So making sure that people know that they're available, because people are definitely they are attracted to these opportunities available to them. And even as we discussed earlier, with the cities and states opening up more, they still like these opportunities. They still like these, these options that are available. So advertising them. And then digital, including connected TV, is crucial. So people are spending more time at home. There's more time being spent online. I think I saw a stat that said it was like 54% increase April over April, year over year, in the streaming, the connected TV watching, right? So digital, people are online, just taking advantage of it, and of course, being efficient with it. So that leads me to continuing to monitor. As we mentioned before, monitor results, continue to test and optimize, and always be looking for improvement. So the world of advertising has changed. It will continue to change. But in summary, what we've seen, focus on solving problems first and foremost, and advertising that. Adjusting the business model to advertise, and advertise those adjustments. So the virtual, the test drives, the video conferencing, all of that, and just making sure that people know about them. And then buying online. People are interested in it, as we mentioned. So if you can give it to them, do so, and then advertise it. All right, so time for Q&A. We have a question. Destiny, what is your recommended connected TV budget?
I mean, that definitely is going to vary, based on people's overall budget, where they're located. But the biggest thing is, as a good jumping off point, we say 20% of your linear TV spend. So just taking a small chunk of it, dipping your toes in the water. And I feel like that gives people a good chance to see how it performs, which is pretty good. But yeah, it really varies. I think that you should work with your agency or 10th degree. And get an estimate, see what works for you, what you're able to do. It's really customizable. And that's kind of what we love about connected TV and all of the digital advertising, is it's pretty flexible.
Awesome. All right, so how do you measure the effectiveness of your advertising when the benchmarks are all off? I think that what's crucial is understanding the performance of the different channels that you're using relative to each other. So if paid search is typically half the cost per lead of display, and knowing where that lies, historically speaking, then you'll get a better understanding of how channels are performing today. So just knowing the performance relative to each of your different channels will definitely give you a glimpse into, what's working well today. And then again, if you're just not sure, or if it's really all over the place, the best way to go is to go start with historic. And then even if you are seeing, like, relative to, historically speaking, you see a huge change in channels, we don't recommend necessarily taking, and making drastic changes to your overall campaign, because again, things are changing and it's a different time and we expect them to change, but just keeping an eye on it, and go with historic when you're not necessarily sure. And then how do I measure if my campaigns aren't spending? Destiny, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so, a lot of it is just making sure that you have like a point of reference, right? So you want to look at, like, okay, like, how does it normally spend? Is my PPC, X amount better than display? What's performing now? I feel like, what you said, making big drastic changes may not be the move, but also understanding your audiences. So, in some areas we're seeing a lot more increase in parts and service. I guess people have the time to get their car serviced. I know that I put it off for as long as possible. Um, so, if you're going to do it, now would just be a really ideal time. Or, people are buying more used cars, like you said. People aren't using rideshare or public transportation. They're just not comfortable with it. So it's just understanding what works for your area, not making drastic changes, but then also adding new things to your media mix, right? So, you know, maybe giving social media advertising a chance, or connected TV. So it's just, giving some different parts of it a test and monitoring how that spends and performs, and also making sure that for what's working now, constantly adjusting and improving. So another thing is that urgent now terms. Do you have keywords in your account that are saying, hey, like, is it now a good time to buy, great offers today or whatnot? That would be, the biggest thing on making sure, you'll be able to spend and measure. I think that, how things are the last 2 weeks are drastically different from 2 weeks before that. So it's keeping a good sense of, relative understanding of, what to expect.
Yeah, you make a great point. Drastic changes, no. Like, don't, if you spend 90% on something and you switch it to 90% on something else, not necessarily a good idea, right? But definitely trying new things, especially, let's say, if you're not currently doing connected TV, or you're not currently doing something where maybe shifting into digital more so, because knowing depending on what your mix is, right? Like, definitely heavying up on digital would be a smart way to go right now. So you make a really good point, though, with just, I think you touched on something that we spoke about earlier, just those time sensitive terms. That just lends to continually monitoring and being ready to optimize. You see those time sensitive terms and you make those adjustments just to make sure that you're never saying content or complacent with what you have, and you're continually optimizing things. So
maybe dealership near me terms are not performing as well because you're not going to go anyways, but it's like dealership delivery offers or that kind of stuff. So it's a different landscape. It's just making sure that you're dialed in, you're working with your agency to hit those terms that are being searched, and then if there's less traffic, which is also normal, making sure that you're allocating it to those different channels that perform well.
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, that's it. Thank you to everyone who joined today. We hope you enjoyed this webinar and you are inspired to, monitor and optimize things in your advertising and the definitely changing environment that we're in. We'd love to hear from you if you have any questions. If we weren't able to answer your questions, you can always send me an email. I am bramos@giselle.com. You can email marketing@giselle.com. You can go to our website. There's plenty of ways to reach us. Tweet us. I don't know. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're a Giselle client, you're always able to reach out to our support team. We're all here and happy to help. We hope you can join us for our next webinar, which will be Google Analytics 201. We're going to go over a brief review of 101. We're going to go over, then we're going to jump right in, I guess, to custom reports and dashboards and CTA event tracking. We had a lot of interest in some of those deeper topics on 101. So we put this together and we're really looking forward to going over it with you guys. So thank you, Destiny, for joining me today. This was fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and then we hope to see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.